All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What's up, guys? Hebrewcheetah here. Going to be breaking down this 5-game slate for Saturday, November 10th. Hope that everyone has had a good week thus far and has a good weekend. As always, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Definitely helps us out a ton. And let's waste no time. Let's get right into it. First off, we have the Minnesota Timberwolves taking on the New Orleans Pelicans. I don't have any game totals pulled up right now. Not seeing any at this time of recording, but I'll just break it down regardless. Minnesota have been a really, really solid defensive team this year. They're first in the league. Makes sense when you have guys like Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, and Rudy Gobert out there kind of locking it down for you. So, yeah, really solid defensive team. Kind of makes me not want to attack them from a DraftKings standpoint. I mean, going to be hard to find some ceilings. I think that this might be a pretty big letdown spot for the Pelicans. They just had one of their best games of the season, beating the Nuggets. All their starters saw pretty heavy minutes. We saw Ingram get up to 38, and even Zion, who hasn't been playing a ton of minutes this year, got up to 33. So I think that I'm just going to kind of take an underweight approach on these guys. The matchups, like I said, just aren't that good. Ingram's probably going to be seeing Jaden McDaniels. Zion probably sees Cat, which I think would be a little bit better of a matchup. But, I mean, the Wolves they have the best rim defense in the league right now, and that's kind of where Zion makes most of his shots. So I don't really want to be attacking the Timberwolves with a player like that. So I think I'm kind of off of those guys. I think if you were to just pick one guy to leave in your pool, it'd probably be Brandon Ingram, just because his role has been really good ever since CJ McCollum has gone down. Leading the team right now with a 30% usage rate, 25% assist percentage. So yeah, he's been a really, really efficient as a driver, making 67% of his field goals off of drives and leading the team in touch time. All the meaningful ball handling categories he leads them in. But like I said, the matchup's going to be a tough one for him to overcome. I could see a sneaky blowout spot here for Minnesota. Minnesota beating the Pelicans, that is. See, I'm just not really too into the Pelicans on the slate. Anthony Edwards. I'm moving over to the Wolves side. Anthony Edwards, he's had a couple pretty bad games, but that's lowered his price under 9K. Saw a couple times earlier in the season when he was above 9K. Had a couple really big games, so he definitely earned that price tag. But just with him struggling these past 2 games, he's gone down to 8.7. So there's definitely some upside for him there. He'll probably run into Herb Jones on defense, which is a pretty tough matchup. I definitely respect Herb's defense, but I think Anthony Edwards is good enough to beat any defender. The Pelicans are more of a 3-point funnel this year, or at this point of the season. So maybe Anthony Edwards has a pretty efficient shooting night from 3-point range. So I definitely have a little bit of interest in him. I think I slightly prefer Karl-Anthony Towns, just knowing that the way to beat the Pelicans is through shooting. So I mean, he's taken a good amount of shots from 3-point range this year, and he's got double upside. Under 8K, it's a pretty solid price tag for him. So I definitely think I have the most interest in Karl-Anthony Towns on the Wolves. Always fine leaving in Rudy Gobert. Just he doesn't have a ton of upside. The matchup versus Joe Val is okay. I think it's one he's historically had success in, so he's fine. And don't really have a ton of interest in any of the other secondary guys. I'll mention Najee Marshall on the Pelicans. He's a core rotation piece, a core part of their bench unit. And, with not having Larry Nance right now, he's been kind of thrusted into a bigger role. He just came back from injury a couple of games ago and saw 14 and then 21 minutes. And not exactly sure how many he saw versus the Nuggets, but I mean, he got up there. So his minutes are going to continue to creep up, and he's pretty solid value at 4,300. All in all, not a ton of interest in this game. I think if I had to choose my top plays in this one, it'd be Cat, Zion, Anthony Edwards, Brandon Ingram, just for his role. and then Najee Marshall. Let's move on to the Memphis versus San Antonio Spurs. Two of the worst teams in the league right now. The Spurs are struggling really bad on defense right now, being second worst in the league. They're playing up in pace, which has created some really good game environments. So we should definitely get a ton of fantasy points scored. Grizzlies are a bottom 10 defense right now, and I could see them getting much worse after losing Marcus Smart for a few weeks. Xavier Tillman bouncing in and out of the lineup, so they're kind of leaning on Jaren Jackson to do a lot of the defensive workload. So yeah, this game I definitely have a ton of interest in from a DraftKings standpoint. I think this is a good bounce back spot for both of them. Surprisingly, I mean they're two of the worst offenses in the league to be paired with them being some of the worst defenses too. They're third and second worst in the league in terms of offensive rating. So, I mean, this could be a spot where we see some pretty heavy minutes and see some good points scored. Starting with some injuries on the Spurs side, we saw Devin Vassell miss this last game, and I think that was just kind of an injury management thing, kind of finding a time for him to get a night off, with it being a back-to-back, the front end. So I could see them sitting Keldon Johnson on the back end of a back-to-back and then bring in Vassell. And if that happens, I think Vassell would be in for a pretty big workload as the lead ball handler. They kind of were using Keldon Johnson in that role, even though Sochan is technically their point guard. They're not really running plays through him. It's more so the secondary guys. So I think that Vassell would be in a pretty good spot at 6,600. So I would definitely have a lot of interest in him. Zach Collins got a huge price bump, almost up to 7K. I've been kind of fading him most of this year, and he finally made me pay for it, going for 50-plus points against the Kings tonight. So I think 6'9" probably is a little bit too expensive for him. But, I mean, if you wanted to, maybe if you were just looking like game sack a game, you could definitely mix him in there. We know that he has that upside now that he's gotten up there, and I think he's gotten 40 a few times throughout the year. So he's definitely in play, but I don't love it. And Wemby, Victor Wembanyama, going to be 8.8K now. His price just keeps going up and up, and it's hard for him to find a ceiling when he's only getting 30 minutes a night. We saw a couple nights where he was getting 34, 35 minutes. That one game against the Suns earlier in the year where he got up to 35-ish minutes and put up 60-something DraftKings points. He definitely has that ceiling. It's just you never know what Pop's rotations are going to look like, so it's hard to want to invest that high of a salary into somebody that might not see the full workload that you need from somebody at that price tag. But the ceiling is definitely sky high. So, and he's projecting really well right now for us, so I think you have to at least consider him. But just going to be those main three guys for the Spurs. I guess if you wanted to get into like a Julian Champagny 4-3, he doesn't really do much on offense. You're just kind of hoping he gets there with the secondary stuff. But yeah, I don't love it. I have to see what Trey Jones's injury status is, because he did miss this past game, and that brought in forget the name. One of the G Leaguers was in the rotation now, and just kind of filling in some backup point guard minutes. Nothing too big to look into. Let's move over to the Grizzlies side. I have a ton of interest in Desmond Bane here. He's only going to see more usage with Marcus Smart being out of the lineup. Marcus Smart, not a huge usage rate guy, but still it's one less mouth to feed, and Bane's been really good this year. He's really been just leading the offense. This team, Spurs, just got torched by De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk in the same game. So I don't think that 8-9 is too expensive for Desmond Bane. We've seen him get up to 60 before. I think he could put up a really, really big scoring night. So I like him a good bit. Jaren Jackson Jr. has just been shooting the ball awful right now. I don't see how you can play him. He's probably going to be guarding Wemby too on defense, so he's going to have a pretty big assignment on defense. I don't think you can play him right now. Seeing a pretty solid projection on Bismack right now, but 5,900. I mean, playing Bismack beyond both 5,900 and 2023 is just insane to me, but I guess he's an option. I like definitely like Jacob Gilliard, the 5'6", 5'5" point guard that they've been starting. Super quick dude. Should be 4'8" for a starter that's going to be seeing way more minutes with Marcus Smart going down. Definitely have interest in him. So I definitely, yeah, there's a few guys on. We have to see what happens with Derrick Rose. He's questionable. He's been out for a while with not sure what his injury designation was, but he's been out for a while. So I don't know if he's going to be back or not. That would definitely take away some of the minutes upside for Gilliard. But regardless, he should be starting, and I think I have some interest in him. But yeah, for this game, definitely have a ton of interest in this game from a DraftKings standpoint. I think my top plays are going to be Desmond Bane, Devin Vassell, Gilliard, Collins, and then Biyombo probably. Okay, let's move on to Miami versus Chicago Bulls. Yeah, the Heat were struggling earlier in the year with their defense, but getting a little bit, losing Tyler Hero definitely sucks, but they're getting a little bit healthier with Caleb Martin returning to the lineup, and they're kind of getting back to playing that Heat basketball that we've known from Eric Spoelstra for as long as he's been a coach there. They're really, really strong defensive team, and they've turned it around a bunch. So it's not a matchup that we can really pick apart anymore. Yeah, both these teams are gonna play a little bit on the slower side. The Bulls definitely are. They look terrible right now. They can't figure it out on offense or defense. So it's tough to want to invest anything into these guys. But both these teams are huge 3-point funnels. The Bulls are bottom 3 in 3-point defense, and the Heat are bottom 6. So there are some guys that we can look to. I'll start with the Heat side. Jimmy Butler gone back to his normal role as the alpha on the team. Past 2 games, he's led the team in usage rate with a 34%. Touches are up to 5.4 minutes per game. He's been really aggressive, which you love to see. Has been averaging over 20.5 drives per game. And yeah, having Caleb Martin back in the lineup or just in the rotation has really boosted up his ball handling role, because now they're not really forced to play Kyle Lowry big minutes. They can kind of interchange them and go to Caleb Martin more for defense. Last game, Lowry only got up to 24 minutes and didn't really do much. Having Caleb Martin in there is actually a really, really big win for a guy like Jimmy Butler. So I have a lot of interest in him at 8.5. Bam, 9,200, really expensive for him when Jimmy's playing the way that he is. Bam has been awesome this year. Definitely earned the role or earned the price tag, but I think it's just a little bit too much to pay right now when Jimmy is playing the way that he is. I think I have a little bit less interest in Bam. One guy that I am pretty interested in would be Duncan Robinson. He's been doing a lot more than just being a 3-point shooter since Tyler Hero's gone down. Has been adding a bunch on the peripherals, been driving more than he normally has, and his minutes are going to be super big every night when the games are close. And with the Bulls being a big 3-point funnel, could see a pretty big ceiling game from Duncan Robinson if he puts together a full performance and gets up to that 36, 38 minute mark that he has been getting consistently. So I like him. Jaime Jaquez Jr., the rookie, has been awesome these last few games, last couple weeks. He's earned a really big role in the rotation. Been pretty crazy. Last 2 games, he's actually played the full fourth quarter, closing out games with all the starters. So he's been really, really awesome for the Heat this year. So I have interest in him too at 4,700. Even if he's not starting, he's a good play. And then on the Bulls side, it's just always going to be max one of their big 3. Vucevic has a really bad matchup versus Bam, so I would be off of him. DeRozan really hasn't shown much upside, even at 7,500. Definitely would be off of him. The only one I could really make a case for would be Zach LaVine. The Heat being more of a 3-point funnel, the matchup should be good for him, but there's been a ton of times throughout this year where the matchup was really good for LaVine and he just fell flat on his face. So I would definitely proceed with a little bit of caution. Kobe White's seen his minutes take a hit with Caruso coming back, not getting the super big upper 30s minutes and getting a ton of open looks on offense now. Caruso actually had a really good game last time out, shot super efficiently, which I would not expect on a nightly basis. He's never been that big of a threat on offense. more so out there for his defense. But yeah, 4,700 for Caruso seems about right. Don't have a ton of interest there. His floor can be extremely low if things aren't working out for him. So I don't really want to go there. Top plays in this game for me are going to be Jimmy, Duncan Robinson, Jaime Jaquez, Bam, Levine, and then Caruso. All right, let's move over to Dallas versus Milwaukee. Excuse me for 1 second. This game should be a really fun one. Should be a fast-paced game. Both these teams were struggling defensively earlier in the year, but they picked it up. I mean, it was only a matter of time. Both these teams have been pretty solid defensively the past few years. So I definitely expected them to turn around sooner than later. Milwaukee's still one of the best rim defenses in the league with Brook Lopez and Giannis down there just clogging things up. So that kind of, I think it dings the upside a little bit for Luka from a driving perspective, but obviously he's got triple-double upside every single night. So not going to read into that too much. The Mavericks are middle of the pack in terms of rim defense and three-point defense, whereas the Bucks they've been allowing it a little bit more from the three-point line. They're bottom 10 in three-pointers allowed per year, per game. So we should be looking at the the shooters in this one a little bit more. Starting with Luka, yeah, I mean the matchup for guards has been a fantasy goldmine this year versus the Bucks. I mean Dame and Beasley have been two of the worst defenders. So I mean normally you would have interest in Luka. I mean I definitely still do, but he's probably going to see a mixture of Chris Middleton and maybe Pat Connaughton gets in there in the non-Middleton minutes to pick up the Luka assignment. So it's not the same matchup. He's not going to be going against Dame and Malik Beasley. I don't think that they would do that to those guys. So, and I don't think his ceiling is obviously huge, but I don't know if I can get there at 12-2 with there just not being a ton of value on a 5-game slate. I think I would actually prefer to pay down for Kyrie. He will definitely see one of Dame or Beasley, and yeah, I mean his minutes are starting to creep up a little bit. Jason Kidd said that he came into the season a little bit out of shape, just not really being there in the offseason, but he's kind of getting back into game shape. So I mean this game will probably be close all the way throughout. It could be a high scoring affair. I think we could see a pretty big minute ceiling from Kyrie here, and matchup is going to be really good for him. So I actually do like him a good bit at 9K. All the secondary guys on the Mavericks will probably just be a max one situation. I think Grant Williams and Derrick Jones Jr. have shown ceilings at times, but they're getting a ton of open looks just with all the defensive attention shifting to Luka and Kyrie when they're out there. But I think Grant Williams probably going to be guarding Giannis on defense. I think that comes with a little bit of foul risk. So Derrick Jones Jr. probably has the cleaner matchup, but 5,100, there's a lot of things that could go wrong for Derrick Jones Jr. He's never really been that big of an offensive threat, so I don't expect him to be knocking down 5 threes a game. But he's a fine option, 5,100. Don't really have any interest in Lively. Going to be matched up against Brook Lopez. Brolo's going to be taking not to three-point line a ton, so his rebounding upside probably takes a little bit of a hit. Yeah, and then on the Bucks side, yeah, they've been really good offensively past couple games. 125 offensive rating past 3. Giannis has been, taking over the alpha role again, but Damian Lillard has been awesome too. Giannis will probably see a tougher defender with Grant Williams. Definitely respect him as a defender. He's been somebody that's shut down some of the best. So I mean, Giannis is good enough to overcome any matchup, but if there was a negative to throw in there, that would be that he's going to be getting Grant Williams on defense. I think I have more interest in Damian Lillard in this one also. Dame has been taking on a huge offensive workload, 34% usage rate over the past 3 games. It is a little bit inflated because there was one game in the past 3 where he played without Giannis and had like a 40-something% usage rate. So definitely inflates it a little bit, but still his usage has been really good, and they're starting to figure out how to play with each other more. So I like Dame even at 9,800. He projects well. Going to be probably one of the lower owned studs up there too. If I had to guess, he probably sees Derrick Jones Jr. on defense. Seen Derrick Jones Jr. pick up some of the guards this year. He's super lengthy, so that could cause some issues with Dame shooting. But Dame has been driving the ball a ton, and he's been super efficient while doing it. So I think his ceiling is pretty high too. If you want to look at some of the secondary guys, Malik Beasley has been shooting lights out. Past couple of games, he has a 92% true shooting percentage, which is, that's not even sustainable for a big man, let alone somebody that's taking a majority of his shots from the three-point line. So definitely don't think he's going to continue to do that. But still at 4,600, he at least has shown the upside to get into the 40s. And even if he gets to 30s, I think that might be good enough on this small of a slate. So he's definitely an option. Not in love with it, though. I think Pat Connaughton's minutes could get extended here with Beauchamp going to be missing this one. It's not the biggest piece of news, but Beauchamp does soak up a little bit of minutes. I think he's around like 15, 16 a game. And Connaughton's going to be needed for defense for sure against Luka. So he could see mid to upper 20s minutes in this one. I would not be surprised about that. Doesn't have the most upside. He's just going to be really just standing around in the corner on offense, but maybe he can get some open looks on three and knocks him down and pay off that tag. So he's okay to mix in, but that's going to be it mainly for this game. Top plays in this one are going to be the two secondary guys in Kyrie and Dame. Then I would rank Luka and Giannis behind them. Then Pat Connaughton, Derrick Jones Jr., and Malik Beasley. All right, last game of the night, Oklahoma City taking on Golden State Warriors in Golden State, San Francisco. Just saw these teams face off a couple nights ago. OKC came away with an easy win. Steph was out that game. Draymond obviously missing due to suspension of rear naked choke. So you have to definitely see what the injury status is early in the day. If we get some news that Curry was at shoot around, or if he wasn't, then we'll have a better idea of how the rotation is going to look. The DraftKings has been doing a really good job of pricing up guys where they should be. We're not getting any crazy values, which has made it a little bit more difficult to build out lineups. But yeah, if Curry is out, I don't even think that Chris Paul at 7.3, Clay at 7K are that good of plays. Haven't seen anything from Clay this year that would tell you that he has any sort of upside. The minutes are down, shooting is down, not doing anything on the peripheral side. It's tough for him to get there at 7K. You're really going to need 30 plus real points, and I'm not sure if anybody on this team has that right now without Steph. Chris Paul 7.3. He could probably hit that hit like a 4x, 5x just on assist if this game is close, but I don't think that he has anything that could resemble a ceiling at 7.3. So I would not really be into him too much. Be interested to see how they're gonna do their starting lineup in this game. We saw Saric start the past couple games as the center. The matchup kind of favors him a little bit more going against a smaller center in Chet Holmgren. I think that his versatility on offense and defense will probably be needed. So I think he starts again. I don't know if he's going to see 30 minutes on a nightly basis, but he's pretty solid. He's earned that 5.5 price tag, so I like him a little bit. Wiggins, similar story to Clay. At least he's priced at a point where you can play him, but his minutes, I don't know if he's reached 30 at one point this year. He's been just hovering around 25 to 28 and not really doing much. He's shooting the ball really bad right now. So it's not looking good for these Warriors without Clay or without Steph Curry in there right now. One person or a couple of guys I like, Jonathan Kuminga. He started last game, had his best game of the season by far. It was good to see. Got up to 27 minutes, which is nice. Scored 21 points. That feels like about where his ceiling is right now. 32 DraftKings points. So I think I like him at 4.9. He's a pretty solid value. Brandon, I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name. I'm just going to call him Pods. 4,800. Steve Kerr definitely was true to his word. Said that Pods has earned minutes, and he definitely got them. Got up to 25 last game after playing 39 the game before. I think, he got some of those in blowout, which, he was still in the rotation throughout the game, but I think probably about 4 or 5 of those minutes were in blowout. But, yeah, 4,800, he's okay. I don't love it by any means. One more person in this value range will be Moses Moody, 3,900. Going to see a little bit more minutes with Gary Payton Jr. or Gary Payton II already ruled out. He was pretty efficient last game. He's a solid shooter. I don't mind the Moses Moody play. I think he probably would be my favorite point per dog play on the Golden State side outside of Kuminga. Not a ton of value on the slate as it stands right now. So 3,900, I think you could definitely do a lot worse than the Moses Moody, who's going to see upper teens to 20 minutes. And on the OKC side, they've been really, really strong this year, offensively, ranking 8th in the league and playing as the 6th fastest team right now. Yeah, SGA is always an option, but I've said this multiple times this year. He's just extremely scoring dependent. Obviously, he's one of the better scorers in the entire league. But if he's not getting you close to 40 real points throughout a game, it's hard for him to hit his true ceiling. And at 10-5, he's okay. I just don't really love the game environment as a whole. But if OKC or Golden State can keep it close, we could see a big scoring output from him. So he's okay at 10-5. I don't love it, though. I like some other plays in that range. Don't really have a ton of interest in Chet or Giddey either at their price tags. I guess if you were looking to get into like a game stack situation, you could keep them in. I would probably prefer Chet at 7-4, but don't love it. Jalen Williams is a pretty solid option at 6-1. He's seen he got up to 31 DraftKings points in both times these teams have faced this season. Minutes should be in the mid-30s when the game is close, so he's a solid option. Yeah. The big question is, are we going back to Isaiah Joe after he just went 7 for 7 from the three-point line last game? Wow, he's a true sharpshooter. I've always respected his game, but I definitely would not be expecting another 35-point output from him from a DraftKings perspective. Just shooting 7 for 7 for a three-point line is insane, but he doesn't add much else. If you just wanted to, I would definitely keep him in your player pool because if nothing else opens up, he's fine at 3.8. But you're not going to be trying to chase that ceiling again. I don't think he's going to get that while this team is fully healthy. But all in all, not a ton of interest in this game. I think my favorite plays would be Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, Jalen Williams, Shai Gilgeous, and then Isaiah Joe. But yeah, that is going to do it for this one. Hope everybody has a good weekend in football. And yeah, let's ship it. I'll see you guys later.